Welcome, students, to another day in the foods classroom. Today we're going to be talking about fresh fruit, how to select it, how to care for it, and what's so wonderful about it. Probably the hardest thing about working with fresh fruit is that every time you choose a pineapple, or every time you choose strawberries, or every time you choose a watermelon, what is inside is not always the same. So the trick to begin with here is to know what are the characteristics of a high quality fruit so you don't end up wasting your money on fresh fruit that doesn't taste that good. So here are a couple of things that I'd like you to be aware of. The first thing when you pull yourself up to the display of fruit is you want to look for something that is the characteristic color of that particular fruit. For example, if I were to take and be at the grocery store and selecting these strawberries, sorry, there's a little bit of moisture buildup right there. I'm looking for strawberries that are mostly red. I want to stay away from strawberries that, let's see if I can find one that's not so good, that has a lot of paleness to it. I know that if I have a lot of strawberries that look like this, that are mostly this pale red, kind of pinky colory, if I choose strawberries that are like this, their flavor's not going to be so good. So I'm going to look for something that has a dark characteristic strawberry color like this one right here. The majority of them are going to be that way. That's always the goal. So I want to choose something that's characteristic of that color. I know this is true with strawberries. I know that when I choose a pineapple, I want something that is not dark green like this all is up here, but instead has a lot of golden color to it. That's the sign of a pineapple that's ripe. When I look for something like a watermelon, I don't want one that's super dark green. I'm going to be looking for something that has a yellow patch on it. That's one of the color signs that's going to tell me that this is a good quality fruit. So I don't even pick up something that's the wrong color. After you pick it up, I want you to give it a once-over for the second characteristic of quality, and that is that it's free from any bruises or decay. So going back to my strawberries, I'm going to look over that package pretty good because I don't want to pay for one that's all moldy. Maybe you've seen that in a strawberry pack before. I don't want to see any gouges or bruising or super soft spots on my oranges. I want to see that it's free from decay and free from bruising. After I do that, one of the things that I'll check is just its weight. I'm going to put it in my hand, and the third characteristic is that it's heavy for its size. If it's light for its size, it means that it's old, and a lot of the moisture has come out from underneath the skin, and inside it's kind of not so good. It's kind of mushy, weird. I don't like that. I want one that's fresh and juicy and firm. When I look at my strawberries, something like that, I'm going to look for them to be smooth and it's like they're filled out with just so much moisture behind them, they're ready to burst. Same thing can be said true with these oranges. You can almost, that one's a hard one to see because of the dark color, but it's almost like the skin is stretched so tight around it that inside there's so much moisture, it is just going to explode in your mouth as soon as you take a bite. So you've got that. It is characteristic color, it's free from bruises and decay, it's heavy for its size, and the next thing I want you to do is I just want you to smell them. So again, come back to your strawberries, give a little smell. Does it smell like strawberries? If it smells like nothing, it's going to taste like nothing. When you pick up your pineapple, pineapples are picked from down here. Smell here. And if it has a pineapple smell, that's going to be a sign that it's going to be a nice, sweet inside. So give them a smell, see what you can see. Even apples have an aroma. Smell them and see if they have that aroma that you anticipate they should have. And the last thing that you have is that it's going to give just a little bit when pressed. For example, with this orange, can you see that it's going to give just a little bit? My pineapple, when I press in on, it's going to give just a little bit. If it doesn't give a little bit, then it's probably not developed all the way and it's not super sweet. So those are the 5 qualities that I would like you to look for. Again, characteristic color, free from bruises and decay, heavy for its size, characteristic aroma, and it gives a little bit when it's pressed. That's the first sign that you're going to be looking at a quality fruit. Now, after you've selected the fruit, you might want to take a look at the price of that fruit, because depending on the time of year, that fruit will be either more expensive or less expensive. Every fruit has a time of year when it is in season. That means that there's a lot of it, it's fresh off the vine, there's been no storage attached to it, and it's at its peak of perfection. When a fruit is in season, again, it's going to taste the best and it's going to be the lowest costing. And it all has to do with supply and demand. If there's a lot of strawberries out, then the growers have to sell it to the sellers at a lower price. If there's hardly any strawberries out, the grower can say, I'm going to double the price. In, for example, May and June, strawberries are in season in Utah. You can get this package right here for about 99 cents at your local grocery store. Right now, these packages are $3.99. They are not in season. And either they've been stored for long term in a facility where they have to pay for refrigeration and no oxygen, believe it or not, or they've had to ship it up from Mexico in the wintertime, or Peru, or Chile is a big seller of fresh fruits that have to be shipped a long distance to come up here to the United States. It looks like right here I can see my watermelon is from Mexico. My pineapple is from Costa Rica. All of these come from different places in the world if it's cold. Right now, while I'm filming it, it's cold. And none of these things are in season. Maybe a little bit of these oranges, but most of everything else is not in season. So sometimes they're not even available. But if they've been stored or they've shipped from somewhere else, then they are in season. So I choose that. Is this fruit affordable for me or not? And you kind of keep your eye on it and you start to see when some of these fruits are in season. And when they're in season, buy a ton of it. And then when it's not in season, you don't have to feel like you have to have it quite as much. So when you buy your fruit, be aware that it does not last forever. I know that you probably have experience with bananas. Bananas really only are going to be at their peak of perfection for a few days. Same with berries. They are so easy for them to break down and to start to be mushy and old. They only last a few days, so only buy what you need right before you need it. And then you want to try to control its getting older. If you have something like these strawberries and you want to stop as much as possible it getting any riper, use cold temperatures. Cold temperatures slow everything down. You probably remember that about bacteria too. Cold temperatures slow everything down, including aging. And warm temperatures, and in this case not the oven, but the countertop, is going to speed things up. So I might want to leave a green pineapple out on the countertop, let it age, let it mature right there on my countertop until I start to see some of that gold. Maybe the same thing holds true with my pears. These pears are just a little bit green, and as I let them sit on my countertop, they're going to start to yellow up or ripen up. So I can use that as a way to control the ripening and spoiling a little bit. So one thing, speaking of these pears, that is always a little bit of trouble with some fruits is that they like to take and turn brown once you cut into them. You've probably seen that with an apple. You've probably seen it with a banana. And it also happens with a pear. This browning, or being exposed to oxygen, is called oxidizing. Oxidation. That's the browning of cut fruit. And it happens as soon as you cut into it. So I've got this pear right now, and seriously, as soon as I take and cut into it and expose it to the oxygen, it's going to start its browning process. So I want to control that browning. It's not poisonous and it's not going to make it taste funny, but it sure makes it look funny. So what I'd like to do right now is to show you a couple of ways that you can stop this browning from happening. I'm going to prepare this pear in a couple of little spots. I'm going to get rid of the core, and always cutting away from myself. And if I wanted to peel it, I could have peeled it, but let's just say I wanted to have this in a couple of chunks. Maybe I was making a shish kebab or something, and I'm okay to leave that skin on there. I would take this right here, this cut fruit, and I'm going to put it inside of a bowl. Maybe I'm going to get, I'm going to use the black bowl. I'm going to put it inside of here, and I have a couple of options. I'm going to douse it a little bit with something that has ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C. Easily found in your refrigerators might be both of these, lime juice or lemon juice. I can take just a little bit of this, and I can sprinkle it on the top, and I can just kind of flip it over a little bit, exposing all those cut surfaces to this juice, and it's going to stop the oxygen. That ascorbic acid is like a block. It won't let the oxygen come in and have a chemical reaction turning that surface brown. Though I like this, there's a product out there that I like even better. This is called Fruit Fresh. It's available in your grocery stores, and you can see right here that it's a produce protector. And these guys right here always give, of course, a little bit of twang, because they are really bitter or biting. But this right here doesn't have that same effect on it. If I look at the list of ingredients, I'm going to find that second, it's ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C. And I can take this and I can do one of two things. The first thing is I can just put that little powder over the top of it, or I can even, if I had a lot of pears that I was working with, I might want to put some water in here, put some of this in here, and there are instructions on what your ratios are, and just again kind of douse them around, let them get wet, and then these guys actually I can leave out for quite a while and they're not going to brown, which is a nice thing if you don't want that oxidizing to happen. So either lemon juice or a powdered ascorbic acid is going to be something that you can use to stop the browning of that cut fruit. Now, as soon as I cut into this fruit, besides oxidizing happening, and like with these guys right here, maybe they're not going to oxidize, but I might start losing some of the vitamins in the fruit. Especially vitamin C is particularly high maintenance. And as soon as you open up their self-made packages, the vitamin C is going to start to be destroyed or leave the fruit. There are three things that destroy the vitamins in fruits and vegetables. The first thing is air. What? It's true. Air, it'll dissipate up into the air and you will lose it from your fruit. So you don't want to cut your fruits too much in advance if you can help it. The second thing is that if I put this into straight water, my water-soluble vitamins, can you remember which ones they are? B, all of those B vitamins and vitamin C. All of those vitamins are going to, rather than stay in the fruit, would rather be in the water. So they're going to leave the fruit and go hang out in the water. So you don't want to leave your fruits just sitting around in water. The third thing that destroys vitamins in fruits and vegetables is heat. So if you are cooking things, if you are making a pear sauce or an apple sauce, you're going to be destroying some of the vitamins that are found within that food. So, little bit of trick as you're taking and playing with these fresh fruits and vegetables. In general, buy them just a few days before you're going to use them. In general, store them in your refrigerator, and you're going to be the very best off. Now, just as the last few questions, I wanted to look at your the question, which is how much or which types of fruits are highest in vitamin C. I'll give you your stars. The first one is your berries. It doesn't matter whether they're strawberries or blackberries or blueberries or boysenberries or huckleberries or any type of berry. It's going to be chock full of vitamin C. Pretty cool, because vitamin C, again, is a water-soluble vitamin along with the B-complex vitamins. And they're a little picky, they're a little finicky. So you want to try to find ways to make sure you incorporate them. So berries, is one. The second type of fruit is a citrus fruit. Oranges, these ones happen to be called a blood orange, and when you break into them, they're red inside, have a lot of red, dark maroon instead of orange. They're cool. These oranges are going to also, because they are a citrus fruit, be chock full of vitamin C. If you have this one orange, you probably like about 200% of the vitamin C that you need in a day. And the third fruit that is really high in vitamin C are your melons, cantaloupe, honeydew. Oh, wonderful sources of vitamin C. Good for you, good tasting, and full of vitamin C. So, fruits, wonderful source for you. Also, these guys are really high in fiber, especially if they're not cooked. Fat-soluble vitamins, I hope you remember them, are vitamins A, D, E, and K. And fruits in general are low in fat, they are low in salt or sodium, and they're naturally high in fiber. I hope you enjoy eating fruits and you have an adventure with them. There are so many different types of fruits. Don't be afraid to try some new ones. Enjoy!